Hello.
All right. What's up, man?
How's it going, Anthony?
Good. Always good. What you got?
Um, I got a couple questions, but I think this one's um protective order or so in Maryland we call it protective orders. I guess every state calls
Yep.
it
Yep.
differently.
EPOs, TPOs.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Get a protective order and it's from the yeah, on the protective order, it says vacate the property, do not abuse, etc. But then this specific protective order, there's a stipulation in it that says custody. And then there's a line that says that law enforcement will use reasonable force
Hmm.
necessary in order to give the kid back to the awarding parent until the protective until the court date or whatever
Yep.
the case is. This to me is really like controversial in my opinion because sometimes we'll get protective orders issued by a court commissioner, and in Maryland, a court commissioner can only issue an interim, and then they'll go see a judge, and then they'll issue a temporary, and then a
Hmm.
final, and sometimes that custody issue is there. My question is, if the parent does not have the child with them, and they're like, "Yeah, I know where my kid is, but I'm not telling you."
Hmm.
I mean, are they really violating the protective order because they don't have the kid? The kid is elsewhere, is with grandma or whatever the case might
Sure.
be. But it's saying use reasonable force to get the kid. And in my case, I'm like, damn, do I really want to lock this lady up? The kid's not even with her. Number one,
No, but
what
I
if
don't think
what
this.
if I use
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah? What if I have to use force? And number two, like how far do we take this? Let's say she does have the kid and she like, no, I'm not giving you my kid, and she slams the door on us. Like, I, I
Well,
don't know, man. Like to me personally, like what grounds do we have? Like I feel like that's just pushing the envelope on something. It's just like a protective order that could
yeah. Yeah.
be squashed later on, you know?
Yeah. No, I think I have your answer. First of all, I can't give you legal advice because you have your own state's attorneys for that. But let me just give you some advice that I think is helpful. Number one is that protective order is not a search warrant, right? So it's enforceable. I mean, if you disobey it, it has consequences. We know that, right? We can get arrested for that. It's probably a mandatory arrest in Maryland, right? But
Yes.
but here's the deal. That and by the way, it's very common to say things like to use reasonable force to get the kids and reasonable force to give the one parent the car or the house. It is, because otherwise, how do you enforce it if people like say I'm not, the kids are in the car, for example, I'm not giving you these kids, right? You can hold that person and get the kids out of the car. It's just you can use reasonable force, and the law is just telling you that the use of force, hopefully very minor, hopefully, we're not talking about deadly force, of course, but the use of force is authorized by law, right? Because it's a civil thing, but you need empowerment to do that. Like, where do you get the authority to hold a person and then open their car and take the kids out and give it to another parent, right? That's not by statute, that's not by the Fourth Amendment, that's by a court order. So there's no so far there's no issue there. Okay. The next thing is, and it is what it is. And anytime you get involved with a civil dispute, there's always a lot of emotions running high. But the second thing is, if the person does not want to tell you where the kids are, I don't know what you are going to do. I don't, first of all, see that. I don't see how the court can't. The court can't compel people to speak, right? And so you're at a conundrum there. If you don't know where the kids are, then you can't use reasonable force to recover the kids. Does that make sense? Like, y- you're just stuck. And right, so it is what it is. You're just going to have to save it for another day. Does that make sense? Like, and then finally, even if you knew where the kids are, let's say the kids are at grandma's, and grandma, nobody's willing to cooperate with you. Everybody's saying you're not coming in this house. You cannot go into that house because unless there is separate facts that the kids are in immediate or imminent danger, which would be exigency, right? That court order does not give you the authority to enter any home. It only gives you authority to use force, reasonable force, if you have some kind of access to the kids. like they're right there. Like you see the dad walking down the street with his two kids, and the mom is allowed to have them. You can take the kids from the dad. It is what it is. That's what the order says. But you can't go into his home, right? The judge didn't authorize that. So at the end of the day, these are limited, but it's very common. I mean, cops do this every day in America, right? You use reasonable force to effectuate a court order. Feedback?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And of course, most of my questions are experience. I had this like roughly 2 weeks ago. Lady was like, I'm not giving my kid to him. And I was like, all right, so where's the kid? And they're like, I'm not telling you. She ended up telling it was the grandparents, but the grandparents was another county. And then
Yeah.
the supervisor called the state's attorney. State's attorney like, oh, you can arrest her for because she didn't give up the kid. I'm like, I don't think so. I
Well, look,
mean,
yeah, look, your state's attorney is always going to win these battles. If look, I'm not an expert in statutory law in Maryland. I'm not. I just don't see, based on what you're saying to me, I'm not aware of what law is being violated there. You could say obstruction, but I don't know how that's a lawful order to compel people to speak. But look, your state's attorney will always, they are, if they're telling you to do it, then they obviously know the law better than most cops.